Turned up today. If you see me, you see me. Okay, before I hype myself up, let me explain why. Hello, beautiful souls. It's your girl K.Sinee here and meeting you in the dressing room, and I'm turned up today. If you see me, you see me. Okay, before I hype myself up, let me explain why. Today is my birthday. Yes, today. Thank you. Hold your applause. Okay. I am officially 34 years old, and I just used today to really reflect on how beautiful my journey has been to arrive here. And I thank God for all that I've survived, all that He's brought me through, and everything that He's continuously teaching me as I grow and evolve and embrace this beautiful journey of life. So, okay, I know when I turned 30, right, I was like 29. I really wanted to know what should I expect in my 30s. Because I don't know about you, but I was, that movie 13 going on 30, when I was 13, I lied to you not. I was the one really just saying, I am ready to turn 30. Every woman I knew who was 30, she was confident, she carried herself gracefully, she knew who she was. It was the exact opposite of what I felt like at 13, right? Because at 13, I've always been awkward, always. I've always been the one who stood out or didn't really have the assurance of who I was, which teenagers, I'm sure that's normal. But for me, speaking of my journey, I really took time to just look at hope. I have hope looking at someone who was a woman who was 30, living in her career, living her best life. And then, of course, when I became older and I started really being able to have conversations with these women who were in their 30s, I started seeing it wasn't what I was expecting, or what I thought I was seeing at 13. Because, at 13, I just see the glitz and glams. By my 20s, I started seeing the worry, the people who were having anxiety and mentally tormented about, oh my gosh, I'm almost 30 and my life isn't together. What am I supposed to do? I saw that and I'm like, listen, reel it back in. I just asked you, how do you feel? Don't have an anxiety attack with me. I'm not the one, because I might panic with you. I'm the one that's gonna probably cry with you, So just bring it down. We don't need to make it emotional. I was just saying happy birthday, right? So it was really interesting when I finally made it to 29, because I really started feeling the difference in myself. I started seeing the difference in myself. Mind you, I didn't even realize I was 29 going on 30. Like, I didn't realize my birthday was in 2 weeks. Until I sat back to really say, where am I going with this thinking? Like, my thinking is different. My response is different. Why? Now, I'm that type of person. I self-reflect. I love to self-reflect. I have to take time to really know where I am. I'm very sensitive about that. So much to the point where I do my best. I'm conscious about the food I eat, based on, when it comes to certain foods. I just don't want it to affect my moods. I need to be able to pinpoint why I'm feeling a certain way. So even with hormones and the hormones that they put in food, I do my best to minimize my intake of meats. And I was vegetarian for over 8 years. I really stood my ground on being able to measure what it is I'm bringing in my body, so that I could make sure I'm at a balance, right? So from the food to my time, I just always want to make sure that no matter what, if I'm having a bad day, where did it start? I always just want to get to the root of something, you know. So with that being said, when I was 29, I noticed there was a change and a shift happening in my life. And I sat back and realized, oh, that's where it is. I'm turning 30. Ooh, I like this. Like, it hit me like ding, ding, ding. Like, it really did, because there was exactly what I was expecting at 13. A confidence that had started to overcome me. My decisions, the no game was strong, right? So how I saw people, my discernment, and I do believe that plays a part with also how I developed my relationship with Christ, that I decided to really give my life to him on a platter and say, God, I want to grow with you. So between, wisdom and divine wisdom, it started to all come together. And now, today, where I am 34 years old, I'm excited now to turn 40, right? Like, when I see women at the age of 40, I love what I see. Now, we're not going to get to that, but with that being said, I found it necessary to share some of the lessons that I've learned to embrace as I've been on this walk with God and growing in my 30s, right? So these are all the lessons that I've learned. So the first lesson I really want to start with is I've learned to focus on the internal more than the external. Now, what that means is I realized everything that comes at me from, the outside of my life, when things are going havoc, when the kids are going crazy, the kids are fighting, the dog is barking like crazy, bills need to get paid because we know they never stop. I have a million errands to run. I'm so focused on everything that's going on around me. I've learned to take time to really to be sensitive about what's going on inside of me, whether that is my mental state, my emotional state, the things I'm eating. All of these are what play a part in how I respond to the external parts of my life. As I was saying about the food that I eat, right? How did I arrive there? There were days when I would come home drained, exhausted, moody, and my kids would have to deal with me in that type of attitude. I am a single mom. I am responsible for, as soon as I would come home from a 9 to 5 that was really more like a 8 to 9 or 8 to 10 o'clock at night, right? I would come home and I'm drained, I'm exhausted, but also I have to admit, I might not have eaten anything all day. I may have had some coffee and maybe something, a late lunch, and I haven't eaten at all since lunch hour. Maybe that was about 1 or 2 o'clock, and I'm coming home and I am drained, or I've just grabbed some fast food, come home, and I'm moody. And it's because I feel heavy. It's because all this grease is sitting in my system. It's made me realize, you know what? I need to start being more intentional about what I eat, so that by the time I make it home, it's not about me. It's not about me telling the kids, lower your voice. I don't want to hear all that playing. It's not saying go to your room because I just need to wind down. How can I take care of myself better so that I can take care of my family better? One way of doing that was to start packing my meals for lunch, for breakfast, for lunch, for midday. And it helped me so that by the time I arrived home, I had energy. And this is food that was actually healthy, food that would give me energy, because nutritionists tell us all the time, there's food that gives us energy, right? There's the greasy foods, fast food, a lot of the food that has all this added hormones. It's affecting how we respond to the people we love. Because in reality, a healthy mental state will help you prioritize your life. A healthy physical body will help you prioritize and balance your life. Some of the most successful people would always admit that some of the things that help them to achieve more is by 30 minutes of sweat equity a day. What is that? Working out 30 minutes, not to lose weight, not to make a goal of how am I going to, fit in these clothes or look good in this outfit for this amount of time. The reality is 30 minutes a day helps your body to find a momentum, or to build a momentum, and your brain activity, your body activity is now ready to start your day. And your sweat equity is you losing this, you're detoxing from the things you've eaten, you're detoxing stress. All of that impacts how you respond to your day. And then you do reap the benefits if you bring it out, when you bring it all together, from your eating to your workout to even your prayer life. You reap the benefits of seeing your life just pivot. I'm a witness that when I bring it all together, from spiritual to physical, to even going to the doctors to find out why I'm not making enough energy. There's so many factors that come into play internally that can help you achieve more success in your actual day-to-day life. So that's a lesson that I've learned. It's really important for you to go to the doctors to find out, the need, what your body needs, what is lacking. Whether it's, finding out that you lacking in B12, maybe that plays a role in your energy. There's PCOS. A lot of women don't even realize that they're dealing with these things in their body. Allergies. Look, I remember I had a cough all my life. I mean, all my life. It was natural to me. I thought it was normal, okay? I used to be embarrassed by it because people think I'm sick all the time. It wasn't until I grew up, I actually started taking advantage of my insurance. And I decided, let me look into this. Let me make sure it's not something serious. Only to find out that I had allergies. And it was a nasal drip. So you're telling me I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed when I go out, or I'm dealing with the mental state of worrying that it's something worse, and all it is allergies, and I could have just taken a little allergy pill every day in my vitamins? Okay, cool. I need to go to the doctor more often, right? Things like that helps you to have a more peaceful sleep, peaceful rest. And that's also, speaking of rest, let's not forget sleep, right? That helps deal with the internal part of us. Losing one night's sleep is just as equivalent to someone who's inebriated from alcohol. It's important for us to realize there are so many things that we've carried over in our lives from when we were younger to now that we don't realize that they're bad for us. And it may not be because it's routine. We always get stuck in routine where sometimes we don't realize we're doing things that's making it harder for ourselves. So that is one lesson that I've learned, is to learn how to identify where I am. Self-love is another part of that goes with it. But really identifying how you love yourself. That helps to find out if, am I going to do things because of what society says I have to do, or is it because I really want to change? And I believe me changing my hair will help with my self-esteem. I believe, something like that goes a long way with being able to identify, like, oh, I love how I look. I don't need makeup. I just want to have more clear skin. So I'm going to now know how I'm going to deal with the external parts of myself, because I don't need to wear makeup, right? I could respond to things differently when I have self-love. When I have self-love, it goes from me thinking, oh, I need makeup every day. Every single day, I'm going to wear a full face of makeup, which I used to, right? You see me on here, I will sometimes. Sometimes you'll see where I don't have any makeup on because I had to find self-love to say, you know what, do I need to wear makeup every day? Is it that I need it? Is it that I'm trying to cover something up? Or is it because everyone who comes on social media has their face done, so why shouldn't I? The reality is, I've realized, you know what, I don't mind how I look without makeup. I just wanted to cover up some of these blemishes. So, you know what, in order to combat that, let me go find something that will help me have a better skin regimen to be able to go out without makeup on some days. That self-love helped me. That type of self-love, finding the love in myself, and pinpointing what it is about me that I like and what it is about me that makes me uncomfortable, it helped me to determine how I was going to respond externally. Okay, so at the end of the day, I just want to make sure I'm happy. Me trying to please the world, baby, I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't gonna work. Okay, these people out here never satisfied. So the best person, the biggest audience to please is yourself and God. Okay, all right, moving on. Next lesson that I've learned is don't take things personal. I mean, listen, this is a big one. Okay, I mean, I learned to stop taking everything so personal and making myself believe that everything is about me. I say that in regards to building relationships with people and to how you go out into the world and socialize. You know, sometimes people walk in a room and they can have a look on their face that is just it's been a terrible day. They don't want to be bothered. They look moody. And they walk up to you and ask you something, you know, with a terrible tone. I mean, just why are you even here, right? But sometimes you think it's about you, right? Oh, I don't know, she walking up here with me an attitude, right. So many ways I can use examples to this one, because too often I see us as people being offended by someone else's journey. If someone were to get upset with me for making a joke that I had no intention of being insulting, or me saying something to them that may be triggering because of where their journey had them end up, I learned to humble myself and just say, you know, I didn't mean it that way, or apologize, because me getting upset with them because they're upset is ridiculous. I found that the way someone responds to me has nothing to do with me and everything to do with them. You know, if I do something to upset someone and it was unintentionally, yet that person ends up upset anyway, it may be because I said something triggering to them because of something they've gone through in their life. Maybe they have an offensive spirit because they're used to someone insulting them. They're used to it to where they expect it, right? I may not be intentionally trying to insult you, but because you've gone through that in your lifetime, maybe in your household, maybe growing up, and that's a place that hasn't been healed yet, you identify it as insulting. And I've seen so many misunderstandings happen that way, where I am dialoguing with someone and it turns into a hailstorm. It gets ugly, and I'm like, whoa. Bring it back. All right? What are we talking about? All I asked was XYZ. What's the problem? And I mean, they will still bite my head off. And you know, I can either allow that to control my mood, and they can pull the strings on my mood, or I can let it go. Where I've learned to just let things go and play out sometimes, because if you give people, when you give people time to reevaluate how they responded, 9 times out of 10 they'll circle back and realize it was irrational. And it's not always, but it's always easier while they're reevaluating how they arrived there. I move on and deal with my life. Like, I'm not gonna hold any extra energy here because of how that person responded. That is one of the best lessons that I've learned. Is to no longer hold someone's energy that has nothing to do with me. Since you having a bad day, I'm gonna go mind my business, and if you want to talk about it, I'll be over here. If you don't want to talk about it, I'll be over here. But I know I'm bringing my best foot forward when I step out the door. I know that I am carrying peace when I walk out the door. So if I don't receive peace, then I'm going to believe you have your own things going on, and I can't be upset with that. Because how am I helping? As a child of God, how am I helping if you are dealing with something in your home? Instead of me being a light, nah, I'm trying to get with you. What? Sis, bring the hands down. Like, we can't do that. We're either gonna be the problem or we're gonna be the solution. And I choose daily to be the light of Christ. Now that doesn't say I don't get offended. That doesn't say that. But what I've learned is assess. If it doesn't make sense, one or two things. Believe that God wants it to go that way. There's a scripture where it talks about, with Moses and Pharaoh. God tells Moses to go and tell Pharaoh what I said about letting his people go. And immediately after that scripture, it says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So it was part of the plan that God hardened Pharaoh's heart to tell Moses no, because he needed his miracles to play out. He needed his miracles to show. He needed to show Egypt, like, I am the one true God, right? So it's necessary. When it makes no sense, I've learned that sometimes it's God's will, and I have to say, you know what, God, if this is your will, what is the lesson? God, if this is your will, what is the lesson that I'm learning from this? How do you want me to respond? With this lesson, it's taught me to not be so defensive. For example, let's say I have a friend who didn't get the promotion that she thought she would, right? She calls me up, sis, I had a long day, let me come over. No problem, girl, I got you, come on, She comes over, and the first thing that I start doing is mocking her. Girl, you don't be doing nothing at that job. You be playing at that job. You ain't tired from nothing. You don't do nothing over there. Then she bites my head off to say, why would you say that? I'm tired of people saying that. I'm tired of this and I'm tired of that. I apologize. Clearly there's something wrong. Let's focus on what's wrong with the other person instead of trying to take it personal as if it was something or anything about us. You don't know what someone is walking in a room with. You don't know the weight that they're carrying. So I don't have to be defensive every time someone comes in the room with an attitude. So another lesson that I've learned on this journey is that forgiveness is necessary. I've learned that it brings peace to your own heart, right? It's not now, there's the cliche, forgive and forget. Never forget. Never. Okay, if someone hurts you, someone does something to break your heart, hold on to that. Hold on to the memories, hold on to the lesson that's come with it, but never forget. But always forgive. you want to find forgiveness no matter what it is. And I'm not telling you how long it should take, how long you need to carry it, but I am saying make sure to give yourself time to heal so that you can find forgiveness. The last thing you want to do is carry a burden that's not your own. You know, if someone does you wrong, or someone manipulates you, or if someone doesn't take care of your heart or your friendship or doesn't respect it, don't hold them to that. You know, it's unfortunate. Maybe they weren't taught. Maybe they've never been held to a standard. In that lesson, learn what their capacity is. When I am building a friendship with someone, getting to know someone, there's going to be a point where someone lets you down. We're human. I'm going to let you down at some point. They're going to let you down. For someone to say, I'll never let you down, ever. Come on. We're human. It's not fair for us to, I've learned it's not fair for me to be upset with someone who has never been required to be honest with people, right? Maybe some people can just be liars. I mean, really, like, some people will lie and believe their lies. It's wild. But I have friends where I'm like, it's cool, you know, and it might be friends, but I have associates who I know they're lying. I know you lie. Like, I'm not gonna hold you to it because I like your personality. I think you have a beautiful personality. Well, there are some people I know, they gossip. You have a gossiping spirit. Ooh. You always talking about somebody's business. You always deflecting from when somebody asks how you doing, and you start talking about somebody else. Ooh. And in fact, I'm sure you probably already told my business, which, being in a room with someone else, someone actually has told me. You know, you've shared a few stories, right? Boom, no problem. I'm not gonna get angry about it. I'm not gonna be disappointed. I am going to forgive you. And now what I know, and instead take that lesson. That is not a person who can handle my emotions, who can handle my privacy, my private life. But instead, that's a person who can handle having a good time, casual conversation, laughter, fine. But so what that teaches me is I'm going to allow you in my life, but you're only going to have limited access. We all have to have a lesson on how we allow people in our lives. And that allows me to, one, keep a great network of relationships. I have a network of relationships where you and I may not have spoken in 10 years, but we're going to say happy birthday to one another. We're going to give each other a hug and catch up when we see each other. I'm never going to tell you my business because I'm sure the reason we haven't talked in all those years is because I've learned you are not someone who I can give my heart to. But you may not be someone who I can grant access into my private life, my personal life. But I love you. We're gonna be good no matter what, because my heart is full. I've learned it is so important to not allow someone else's wounds to taint my own heart. So that lesson I keep with me no matter what the disappointment is. I'm going to keep my heart full and open to love, because that allows me to stay in control of my own life instead of allowing someone else who may be broken, who may not be healed, who doesn't care to do their own work. Like, I've put in work here. I'm going to put in work here. And if you choose not to put in put in work for your own life, you're not about to tear down anything over here, okay? Another important lesson is comparing your life to someone else's is catastrophe. Like, fail. It's a complete failure. Not only does it keep you in bondage where you are constantly feeling as if your life is not enough, it positions you in a place of where you're never satisfied. You're never happy with your life because it doesn't look like that person who you've put as a standard. Like, that's the blueprint. My life is not someone else's life. So here's a great example. I'm in an apartment. At some point I said, I want to own a home. I want to be a homeowner. I need to be a homeowner. I have to, because that's what you do, right? Like, you own a home. Like, that's the maybe it's the American dream, but that's what we do. And there was a setback. I had a setback. You know, being an entrepreneur, it was new to me. When I first became an entrepreneur, revenue's great. I'm like, yes, I am going to finally buy my home. And then I started the process, and I realized I didn't have anything in order in my administrative areas, right? Like, there were some things that they needed and paperwork they needed that, as a first-time entrepreneur, I had no idea that was even necessary. So what that did for me was, you know, it set me back to where I became depressed, because I'm like, wow, I have to wait longer now, you know, to become a homeowner. And all of this hard work, all of these efforts that I put into making sure that I made it to become a homeowner, now it feels like it was for nothing, because I still have to wait. So after I realized I wasn't going to become a homeowner as fast as I would like to, you know, God really I love how God works, because he really does it where he brings you that peace of mind, peace of heart. I remember one night I came across this show, and it was about how to live your rich life, right? And what I loved about it is it had nothing to do with living a financially rich life, right? It was about really how to live a life of substance that will help you to feel successful. And watching it brought me so much peace. Just some of the nuggets that was dropped in it. What I love about God is that he always brings you that peace. And it was from not only a spiritual place, but even a practical place, where he helped me to realize, you know, are you doing this for yourself? Are you doing this? Are you rushing to become a homeowner because you want this? Or is it because, you know, you feel like you have to? Because at the time, I had a friend who was getting ready to purchase a home, and it made me anxious. And in reality, I was a new business owner. My goal and focus was on my business. It didn't have to be everything at one time with building a business. And I'm in Florida. So you're talking about from being a business owner to being a homeowner. And to be honest, God is so good, because this was right before the pandemic. And my business took a hit. So I didn't even realize God was saving my life. You know, before I picked up a mortgage that would have probably drowned me. And and from that lesson I learned, the people around me is not a measuring stick on where my life is supposed to be. I came to agreement with realizing, you know, in so many ways, my life is exactly where God wants me, and it works for me. It really does. Now, and that doesn't mean I don't have to be inspired. It doesn't mean I don't have to add things to my goal list, because I'm constantly adding things to my goal list. I'm constantly evolving and developing on who I am. So what I wanted in a house 5 years ago is completely different from what I want right now. So I've learned that God will open doors for you to just have a glimpse of where he wants you, of what he has for you. And it helps you to envision yourself to be there. So there's no reason for me to be jealous if I go to my friend's home who bought a $2.4 million home. I'm not jealous. I've just been exposed. And the beauty in that is now that I've been exposed, my vision that started off as a teacup is now a waterfall. Okay? I'm sold out on the lesson that what is for me is for me. Period. Now moving on. Next lesson I've learned that is so important to carry with you, that I've learned in my life, is avoiding people who enjoy toxic behaviors and toxic atmospheres. Now, this is big for me, especially going into my 30s, because, sometimes we find that we have our childhood friends who are still with us, right? Friends from our neighborhoods, friends from middle school, elementary, whatever it is. And we will hold on to those relationships or those friendships because of the longevity that it has. But if I were to meet a friend today, my friends who I've created a standard for, they will be nothing like some of the friends that I've known before, right? At all, because it's not who I am anymore. I have different interests than who I was back then. I have different requirements of what a friendship is for me. And sometimes when you have people you've grown up with or people who you've known for a long time, you deal with it's almost like you're frozen in time. Your friendship becomes frozen in time, where you deal with each other exactly how you did in that time frame. Back in the day, if I was loud and rambunctious and ready to, jump bad, back in the day, if I was ready to do that same friend who I used to, maybe get catty with or fight with, that same person may still be there. It's possible, not all the time, but they could still be there. And I'm not there anymore, sis. No thank you. So I've learned to, again, limit or restrict access. And what's another example is you have some people who it's not as, it may be not as direct that they have a mental health issue. And when I say that, I mean maybe they deal with depression, or maybe they're dealing with wounds where they're always fighting. They feel like fighting that's all they know how to do. They fought their whole life. They've had to fight their way to the top to be successful. They've had to fight to prove who they are. Some people are accustomed to that. Baby, that's not who I am. I don't like the fighting. I don't like the cattiness. I don't like I don't like where we're supposed to be friends, and instead it feels as if we're competing, or you're competing with me. I don't like that feeling. I know I want to guard my peace. I want to guard my mindset. I want to protect my atmosphere. It's so important for me to protect my atmosphere because I work hard at making sure it is peaceful. There are some people who gossip, some people who are always talking about people. There are people who I've met who are constantly judging others or think they know they have all the answers to everything. And to be honest, it doesn't sit well with me in casual conversation, or at any point. So, again, boundaries. What I've learned is once I learn the type of person that you are, if you are someone who every time you call my phone, you're stressed out. You are dumping all of your issues, all of your trauma, or all of your bad decisions on me to listen to it. And that's all good. I can be that friend. But if I'm also the friend who's going to be direct, what are you doing about it? How are you working to change it? Are you putting in effort yourself to change? Do you want to? Because if not, that means this is a cycle that's never ending. And one thing about me, I'm a jewel, not a trash can. Don't dump your mess on me and think I'm going to carry it. I have my own cross to bear. I'm not trying to carry all yours. So with that being said, that's a lesson that I've learned, to guard my peace, guard my atmosphere, take control of it the best way that God allows me to. And that is, again, limited, giving people boundaries and putting limits. And there's a cap on everything. Well, there are some people who really just, it's like they're magnets to drama. I don't care if it's the grocery store, it's just magnets. Not for me. It's important that you don't allow their toxic behaviors to infiltrate you, to infiltrate your own life, your own thoughts. It's vital that you keep positive people around you. That lesson has shown me the difference it can make when you keep positive people around you. People who are aiming for success, people who are achieving their goals, checking lists off. I can definitely say the avoiding toxic behaviors and replacing it with people who are successful and are people who are doing amazing things or have positive mindset and hopeful or faithful. Just for example, being in the church. This is a perfect example. Being in the church, community, when I say the church, the community of church, where you are surrounded, and the Bible tells us this, to surround yourself around believers, because it is a beautiful thing to be in an atmosphere each week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, depending on your church. It's important that you position yourself around people who have hope, around people who are who believe that there is something greater for them to take a hold of. That is what I enjoy being around. I love being around the people who are waiting on God, who's trusting God, believing God, who knows it's coming, versus the people who, you could be, and you may not be a church goer, but you have people sitting in your living room every day and all they talking about is, oh, I'm never gonna make it, I'm never gonna do this, and they cursing their lives with this negative talk. And it's like, baby sis, I promise you, you don't want that in your atmosphere, because then you start doubting yourself. Then you start believing, you know what, maybe I'll never make it either. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus, okay? That will not be your story, and it won't be mine, because I've learned in my life, in my lessons, that in order for me to keep a momentum of growing and walking down that narrow valley, in order to do that, I have to be confident, I have to be strong, I have to have a community that's behind me, reminding me that God is amazing, God is honest, God is going to do it, God is going to fulfill his promises. That is what I need, that is what I look for, and that's what I've learned is a priority in my life. Taking away the bad and replacing it with the good. Simple as that. So, almost done. I have 2 more. I have 2 more lessons that I want to share that I've learned. And one of those lessons that I actually learned this past year is it's important to embrace relationships change as your life evolves. People who you've known, you may have been friends with or have relationships with all your life. Each of you are evolving, all of you. The relationship is going to change because you're changing. Some of us grow together, some of us grow apart. But the biggest lesson that surprised me that you don't really read about is how friends that I've had from my high school years, from elementary years, we grew apart. For a complete year. I experienced talking to these ladies every single day. From whether being on the phone to whether we're going out on trips, on vacations, having dinner together at our home, or whether it was being at our kids' birthday events, we were together faithfully. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And we grew apart. And there was a lot of time that grew where we didn't hear from each other anymore. I tried to hold on to the relationship. I tried to find out what was causing the distance, but again, that was just something I said, well, God, I'm believing that this is something you desire. You need us to have this time apart. Was I sure that we were going to have our friendship come back together, I had no idea what to expect. We finally, some of us finally found our way back to one another with our friendship and discussing, what it was that caused the division or caused the separation. And to be honest, it was nobody but God that caused it, because it's hilarious that it was no real reason. Things started changing in our lives. We started seeing things differently. We started prioritizing the things in our lives different from where we did in the first place. And when I tell you, life coming back together, the people who we were initially, we weren't the same anymore. And I loved that, because I saw that each of us became so much better than we were, so much more mature, so much better at communicating and learning how to love each other and not in a messy way. Like, of course, because we were all kids, so we dealt with each other as we did when we were younger. In that time where we separated from one another, we came back together and we had to relearn each other. And it was such a beautiful thing. So that's a lesson that I saw, was such a beautiful lesson, that there's so much beauty in getting to know one another again. And I guess it makes me think of marriages. When we talk about renewing vows, something that advice that I heard from a couple they were together for 60 years. And they explained it to me in such a beautiful way of saying, it's important to renew your vows, because the person you married, maybe it was the first 20 or 30 years ago, there's no way you can live a life together in 30 years and still be the same people. So it's important to let's renew our vows to the new people we are today. It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful story. And then, again, after the next chapter. And that's how I see it with all relationships, all friendships, that we have to respect one another's growing seasons. We have to get to know one another over and over again and reassess what it is you need to do differently. And not just with yourself, but how you're handling that person. What are they saying? They don't like being handled a certain way. Maybe you don't like being handled a certain way, and that's why you're offended. I've learned to be open that sometimes that separation is just a reset. Reset on the friendship, reset on the relationship. And it's not always a bad thing, because there is so much beauty in seeing a tree that has lost all of its leaves. And when the seasons come back around, you get to see the flowers and the leaves blossom right back on it. It's beauty in it. So I see the tree as that life in the relationship. It may look like the leaves are falling off. It may look like everything is being stripped from the friendship or the relationship, but at some point, giving things time to just let God do what he does, to knowing what seasons you're in, and acknowledging, okay, we have to go through these seasons in order for us to have life come back. Yeah. The very last lesson that I really want to share that I've learned and I would love to see you embrace at some point in your life is learning that the quiet place is the safe space. I've found so many ideas and conversations with God and just allowing things to be quiet, allowing my atmosphere to be quiet. Nothing on, no television, no phone, not requiring, even like the fan be on and you just hearing it click, 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 JK. But not looking to have a conversation because I'm bored and I want to talk, but genuinely, authentically being in the peace of God. Sometimes I used to be really big on, I just want worship music on. I just really want music, gospel music. I need it on. I have to have it on, right? Of course, the Bible actually teaches us how, you know, worship will change an atmosphere. But then there are times where you also want to just be in the quiet, because so many times in the Bible you will see where God comes in a whisper. And those whispers, it can be one word, it can be two words, but one is sufficient enough because you hear him show up and he gives you the word that you need. It helps to really deal with what's inside of you internally, because you know, when you have music on, the TV on, or you're always talking, you don't really know what's going on inside of you, right? Because you have to be in silence to really say, what am I saying to me? And what do I mean by that? I mean, actually exposing the voices that's inside of you. You want to be quiet. You want to be able to have a quiet atmosphere so you can get to really hear what you're saying to yourself. You know, when you don't even notice it's happening, right? There are times when you can just get lost in thought. And sometimes we only pay more attention to that thought when we are worrying about something, when it's something bothering us. But what about when it's just your mind is just pacing? What about when your mind is just going? What are you thinking about? Are you speaking life into yourself? Are you just thinking about how all of the things you haven't done today? You know, it's those moments that matter in that piece, so you can really hear. Am I speaking life into myself, or am I constantly thinking of negative things? Because if so, I need to change it. Okay? I need to really know what I'm saying to myself so that I can reset my way of thinking. How do I do that? Go to my word, pray about it. Maybe this is what I need to speak to God about. Maybe this means I need to start reading more that will give me affirmations. You know, all of these play a key role into growing in a healthy place and growing healthy with God. I am so genuinely at peace with, you know, my experiences in life. These lessons have helped me to find joy. Now, I know I said that was my last one, but this one is a bonus. And that is happiness, peace, and joy is a choice. Now, it may sound unrealistic to you, especially if you're not ready to receive something like that. But all of the lessons that I've just shared, these are all lessons that have helped me to wake up every day and choose to be happy. Wake up every day and choose to guard my atmosphere to have peace. These are ways that have helped me to take my hands and wash my hands off of things. To say, I'm not going to worry about that problem tomorrow, because I can't do anything about it. If God says no, then he says no. I'm not going to dwell on it, because there are so many things about today that I have to be happy about. I have to think about how all of the things that I am blessed with more than I think about the things I don't have. Because if I don't, it will sink you every time. Straight up. If I allow the enemy to convince me that I don't have enough, that is what can drive any woman to feeling unfulfilled, to depression, to suicide, God forbid. So what I've learned is I'm going to choose happiness. That relationship didn't work, that was God's will. If every time this person called me and I know they gossiping, or I know they calling me crying and ecstatic, and I know I'm in a fragile or sensitive place, I'm not going to answer the phone. These are choices. Am I talking to a guy who I know playing with my emotions? I know Is something off? I see the red flags, but I'm still gonna answer the phone. No. Instead, I choose to set my boundaries. I choose to communicate. And I choose to be transparent with the people around me so that I can create a standard of what I expect when I want to, or how I want to be treated in a friendship or a relationship, or just being a part of my life. It's important on how I take each step day to day. And I've learned that it's important because my life isn't just about me. My assignment that God puts in my hands are bigger than me. It trickles down to my children. It trickles down to the people He's connected me to. And if I'm failing at myself, if I'm failing on managing my assignment, then I'm failing at doing God's will. And we can't have that, period, okay? These are just some of the many lessons that I'm learning, I'm embracing, and this is what I'm wearing every day and walking out that door to be the best version of me every day. And I pray these same lessons help you to do the same. And if there's anything else that you feel I missed or that I should also acknowledge, add it to the comments. Let me know. Let's talk about it. Have you ever experienced any of these? Do you think these are anything that can help you on your journey? I love to have the conversation because at the end of the day, God is giving us all that we need. He's giving us His word. He's giving us His spirit, man. He's giving us His blood that transforms us. But when you've been given a new life, what are you going to do with it? Are you out here just trying to make the money to have the power? Are you out here trying to fulfill the assignment? What is it? What is the end game here? Because it is not to be a good person. It is not to love God with all your heart and love His people, or to treat His people the way He's assigned us. What's your purpose? Because you can't take the money with you. But I love what someone said. Someone taught me this, and they mentioned how when we talk about an everlasting life, talking about being invincible or having a lifespan, outside of, in addition to, God promising us everlasting life, something that makes us immortal is the legacy that we leave behind. And I don't know about you, but my legacy is intertwined with making sure I fulfill, in the best of my ability, the assignment God has for me. That may not be yours, but as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. I pray that these lessons make it into your hands to help you find peace in your own dressing room, in your own day-to-day. All right? Peace out.
Won't you send me a break? 'Cause I need to get